Yeah, I did not know I was going to get recruited.
Check. 1, 2, 1, 2, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Step. Good. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We're going to get started.
Just a minute, we still have some people coming in and we're trying to give them time.
Yeah, I know. Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Test, test. 1, 2. Is that better? Yep. Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Test, test. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2, 1, 2. It's okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the City of Newburgh and Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, thank you very much for being here this evening and sharing your time with us. I'm Les Hallman. I'm the former fire chief of the City of Newburgh and now an assistant chief of Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. We're here tonight to hear from you, the community. Your thoughts on future delivery of fire and EMS in the City of Newburgh is important. We want to start out talking about the last town hall. There was an issue with our vendor that sends out the mailers. We apologize for that. As soon as we found out what had happened, we immediately started working with the city to reschedule tonight's meeting. Thank you so much for your understanding. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for turning out tonight like you did. Again, hearing from you is extremely, extremely important to us. So tonight, there's going to be a few things that are going to go on. You're going to hear a few of us talk about where we've been, where we are today, and where we're possibly going to go in the future. We're also going to talk about how you can continue to give input to the City Council. At the end, we've got about 15 minutes for questions. There were cards being handed out to you as you came in. We're going to go through as many of those as we can in about 15 minutes. If we do not get to your question during those 15 minutes, there's a section on there to write your name and number. We will absolutely follow up with you. You also have the option to meet with some of us who will be standing around after the meeting, and we will do our best to answer your questions. A big part that will happen after the presentation tonight and after we do the questions and answers is what we call a breakout session. This is an opportunity for you to talk to some of us one-on-one, and more importantly, using these boards, it's an opportunity for us to hear your feedback and give some direction from you, the community, to the City Council. So again, we'll go through the presentations, about 15 minutes of questions, and then we'll have a breakout and have some opportunities to meet with you one-on-one. So Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue is now at about the halfway point of a 2-year contract with the City of Newburgh to provide fire and EMS. So what led to the City of Newburgh requesting a contract for delivery of fire and EMS services from TVFR? There are several factors that blended together to create what I like to call the perfect storm. Our city was not unlike the situation that many other cities in our area, as well as throughout the country, find themselves facing today. Limited staffing and a rising call volume have truly placed the city's fire and EMS under tremendous strain. The city had not been in a financial situation to increase fire and EMS staffing since 2006. Yet there's been over a 40% increase in demands of service over the 10-year period leading up to 2016. The city's fire and EMS delivery model, including utilizing a combination of both career and volunteer firefighters. It relied on our volunteers to staff the city's 2 needed engines overnight, which have become increasingly difficult to achieve. There is a nationwide shortage of volunteer firefighters. Rising training requirements and dual income families make it extremely challenging to be a volunteer in this day and age. We were asking our volunteers to spend a 14-hour shift overnight on duty in the fire station to staff those fire engines, and that's a lot to ask of a volunteer. It was becoming exceedingly difficult to get volunteers to staff the engines overnight, which on a regular basis led us to having only 2 career firefighters staffing 1 fire engine to protect your city. Having a single fire engine with 2 firefighters on it for a city of this size is far below national industry standards. And on top of that, you add the increasing call volume with limited staffing, it was placing a serious strain on the career firefighters. Due to the city's limited revenues, there did not appear to be any sign of relief. We had the perfect storm. And as your fire chief, I had become increasingly concerned over the safety of our community and its citizens, and also our firefighters. I continue to be so thankful that the City Council agreed to the TVFR contract. And now for a perspective of fire and EMS delivery from the City Council, here is your Mayor, Bob Andrews.
Good evening. I think most everybody can hear, but I'm going to go ahead and use the mic anyway, just so that we don't have that challenge. This is a great turnout, and thank you all for being here. This is what we have been looking for as a council, and the staff is to have this kind of a turnout tonight. This is really, thank you for the time that you're taking here. The first thing that I want to stress is that public safety, whether we're dealing with the police or the fire, that's an absolute priority for our city, and that's an absolute priority for our council. You, the residents, expect police and fire and emergency and medical services to be available 24/7 with modern and reliable equipment. Now that poses a challenge as the city balances its service priorities with the resources that are not keeping up with our population growth and with the rising costs of doing business as a city government. Those of you that have been here while we did some surveys, and it was coming out that on the average stay was about 28 years people have resided here. There are those of you that have been here all of your life, 40 years plus. There are those that have been here maybe a year or two, but on average 28 years over the years. And if you can look back those 28 years, those 30 years, whatever the case may be, you can look back when Newburgh was a community of 8,000 people versus where we are today between 24 and 26,000. We also need to recognize the economies of scale that we have as one city, one small city. We're not a small town, we're a small city now. One small city's purchasing capabilities versus the enlarged purchasing capabilities of an organization like TVFR. So we are looking at the value of that economy of scale that is offered by TVFR. And then the chief made a mention of it, and that's the change in the demographics that go on. We have today more and more families. There are two-income families, and there are not the hours left in the day for the family and for volunteering. So we've had these changes that we're looking at and we're going through. Thus the reason the city needs to look at options which optimize the use of our available resources and provide the services that we all desire and want. During the process of evolving these options, there were some flyers mailed out to Newburgh citizens by an organization that is not affiliated with the city in any way. Out of that, and I can say this with honesty, I have received hundreds of calls and emails expressing concerns over paying more taxes. And I think that's a valid concern, the way that particular mailing went out. The loss of local control, and we have talked about that, and more questions can come out where we don't really lose total control. We still have the opportunity to be on and a voice on the governing board of TVFR were we annex there. And your desire for more information, thank you for being here. And your desire for a vote. Since then, since those calls, and we've had another series of robocalls that have gone out, since those surveys have been conducted, focus groups have been put together to solicit input from you, our citizens. And based on the outreach of those efforts, the City Council has recently been presented with recommendations on the future of Newburgh's fire and emergency services. And our city manager will go into more detail on that right following my remarks. The thing I want you to know is right now, the City Council and I, we're listening. And we appreciate your engagement with us. We don't necessarily appreciate those flyers, but we appreciate your questions, the questions that are actually coming from you. Those contacts are essential to helping us in our deliberations to make the best informed decisions for tomorrow. Any discussions about future taxes, I think, are a separate issue, and will be addressed at that time, but it's a separate issue now, but we'll address those at a later time. And with that, I would like to call our city manager, and thank you for being here again. I appreciate it. Let me get behind.
So I'm going to step out here, if you don't mind. So thank you, everyone, for coming in the crowd. You know, what you heard from the mayor a few minutes ago was to talk about there's been 2 surveys that's gone on over about the last 2 months. And when the cards went out saying that, well, the city is going to double taxes and all that, you didn't see a whole lot of response from the elected officials. And by the way, they'll all put their hands up here. So your city council is all sitting here, and they're here available. So Councilmember Essen and then in the back, and the rest are right up here, and they're available for questions as I am after this. But what happened when that card went out and said, oh, we're going to double the tax rate for the city because of the change in the fire, you didn't see a bunch of responses, including on Facebook. And the reason for that is that what the city council was doing, and my job in trying to advise them from the city side, from the staff side, is wait and hear what people say before you do anything. Don't just jump out there on any of it. And so the survey that came out was 200 people, a little over 200 people, that were asked about what do you want to see with fire. And then there were 2 focus groups that happened over the library. And basically what happened out of those questions in the group is they said a couple of things. One is they said, you know, if you change over and go to Tualatin Fire, you know, in a way we really do not like to lose our Newburgh Fire Department and the name and everything and the traditions. But in the last couple of years, when we've seen Tualatin Fire here, most of the people said, I get it. They seem like it's pretty good service. And those that had any interaction with the fire department, either on the fire or on the medical side, most of it's on the medical side, said, okay, it's good service. The other thing they said in the survey was it said, don't double charge. So if you get out of the business of fire and medical, then don't charge us property taxes. And that was what was said in the survey. And then the other one was that it said, you know, if you're going to change, and particularly if there's any money involved here, taxes or elsewhere, I want to vote on it. And that was the result of what came out of there, and that's the result of a lot of the emails. And so up to this point, we're on this 2-year dating period between the community and Tualatin Valley to see, does this make sense for us? Money, service, and all that. The advice is, city council, wait. Just hold back and listen to what people say. Well, they've heard that. We've gotten the results of the survey. It's out. We've distributed to people that want to see it. And any of you want to see that survey, you can do it too. Now is the point where the city council, as your elected body, can say, okay, we can deliberate on what we're going to do next. And that next is this coming Monday. So when we did a 2-year contract with TVFR between the city, we agreed to a price to do for each of the 2 years. And we're under those contracts. So our current budget we know exactly how much it's costing us to put on fire. And that's, if you take the equivalent, meaning the amount of money that we're paying in a contract to TVFR, and you put that into property taxes, it would be $1.88. So that's why you see that number floating around. So right now, the budget that we've done for the year that begins July 1, and that's when the city's budget year starts, it will cost us $1.88 to do the service. Now, when you look at TVFR, and one of the good things about, for us, this model that works, is that every taxpayer in Tualatin Fire, that's way bigger than the area that Newburgh is, everyone pays the same property tax rate. They don't pay the same dollar amount because their property is worth it, but they pay the same rate. So you can be in a rural area, like in Newburgh rural. You can be in Washington County, which was the last area, in the rural area up there that came into TVFR. or you can be in a highly urbanized area with a lot of property value like Beaverton, and you pay the same. So that dollar amount is right now at $2.07. We're paying $1.88. So for the time that we're going through this dating period, we're basically being subsidized by the rest of the people, and I'm all for that. And I would love to continue on that and say, hey, can we have a great deal and let's just extend our contract? Well, you can kind of guess what TVFR says. No, we want you to come into our family of a big district, but you pay with everyone else. So that's where this $2.07 comes from. That's what all of the other taxpayers pay. So how much does that mean for each of us? So what you do is you take the value of your home and the average home, so this is what the county collects the taxes, and they set out, and these are all public, and you go to your property and say, how much is my property worth? What's it assessed at? That's what your taxes are billed. Right now, it's $187,000. Now, I know a lot of people would love to buy a home in town for $187,000, but that's what the average is. And then you take the difference in the tax rate between that 207 and what we say, what we are paying this year of the $1.88, it's basically 20 cents. Well, so you take 188 and 207. So it's, well.
That's $270 per $100,000 value.
No, so what it is, if you take that, so take yours, let's say you're at a $200,000 home, okay? Your taxes are based on per thousand, right? So $200 times the difference between, and what I'm going to tell you right now, and what the recommendation is on Monday night, and they will vote.
25 cents per thousand difference, which is
Well,
mild. It's a small amount.
It's $1.88, okay,
Versus 207.
right.
The difference is 25.
Well,
0.25.
yeah, it's 20, but that's okay.
Okay.
It's all right. It's 20.
My math.
It's all right. So it's 20 cents. So you take 200 times 20 cents. That's the additional. So it's $40 per year is what it will cost you to do that.
What it is now.
Correct. And so part of the thing is that, okay, are we going to be sure it's doing that? And why hasn't the city up to this point said what we're going to do? It's because the city council, we asked them, please listen to people. So what we announced publicly, and my job, that what you've hired me on to do, my job is to give recommendations to the council and then the whole council, all of them, and we're short one person right now. But that council then hears what people say, they hear it, and they're the ones responsible for making the decision of what we're going to do. So here's the recommendation. It's actually on the website and everything that's published for the paper. The first thing is, the recommendation is call for an election in November. Not an advisory election, an up or down. So if you're in the town, you vote. Do we go with an annexation or not? That's the first thing. The second one is, let's not charge twice. If we're not doing fire, then that $1.88, we don't levy a tax. Now this takes effect, if it all happens, July of next year, not this year. So out there very publicly what the recommendation that they're going to deal with on Monday night is don't charge $1.88. So then what it will cost us is that 20 cents times whatever it's valued. Now, you've already heard a lot of the pluses and minuses of why it seems like it makes sense. We've heard that we couldn't get enough volunteers to do it. We'd love to have done that. There just aren't out there. What the TVFR has done for us in the last year, in addition to what our staffing was before, is that they've added another firefighter/paramedic at each one of our stations this year. Is it out of the kindness of their heart? Well, maybe we're in the dating period, so they want to impress us. But the other part is that, and that's kind of a joke, the other part is that they want us to mirror the rest of the district. So not only are we paying the same, but we get the same level of service here as there. And that's what they put into place, even though it obviously costs them right now more than the $1.88. The other thing that came up, two other things came out of those surveys that were really important to people. One of them is, do not give up one of the fire stations. So we have 2 right now, and there's no plan. So hear this from me, hear this from council members after when you talk to them, hear it from any of the TVFR. There's no plan to close the station or anything. We need that with the kind of traffic that we have here. So that was another thing that was very important. And the other part of service that's really important to so many of us is that if we, God forbid, have a medical emergency or have a heart attack, what we want to do is make sure that we have enough paramedics that show up and not have to wait to come in a mutual aid situation for someplace else. That's in place. We didn't have that in place before. It is now. And that would continue on. And again, why? It's kind of like, well, once they change, are they kind of moving people around? No, we just look and see what TVFR has done, other places, including other annexations. So, as the staff, the recommendation to the council, and as we've looked through this dating period that we've gone in, what they said they were going to do, they've done. The money and all that stuff is out open, and we're treated and will be treated like all of the other people. And then we have to decide, for the 20 cents, do we want that kind of fire service? And so the recommendation to the council that I've written that goes there based on all the staff and the ideas is that on Monday night, go forward with an annexation if the voters say, yes, we want to do it in November, and do not tax, don't put a double tax if you want to say, do not levy a $1.88 equivalent in property tax when we get to next year.
Why did you decide to not tell us that right up front?
Because we wanted,
You want to keep the money?
no.
You had to have some reason for it.
Well, that's what I was saying. The reason is that when we started this dating period when we started, we said, this is going to be a 2-year period to see if it works. And we're going to take at least a year to see what's going on. And then what happened is the postcards came out. So the postcards came out, and at that time, we hadn't completed, and we didn't do it, it was the service that did it, but the survey hadn't come back. So not enough people had come out and say, do you think the service is good? What do you want? And that's what I was, and as a staff person, I said, council, hold back. Don't respond until you see what people are telling you. Do you think if you're sitting there and you see this card and you're a council member of the mayor with all the emails that you want to respond? Your job as a city council is to listen to people, deliberate, and come out. And our schedule from well over a year ago was to do that by June 30th, which is where we're at right now. And that's why. And that's the only reason. So.
Why is the newspaper reporting that the money doesn't have to be taken back immediately? There's no reason for Newburgh to give it back. That's what the big newspaper says. Now, yesterday the newspaper said, oh, we changed it. We only don't give it. We give it back the first year, but then we can take it back and use it later on after the first year.
Well, so here's what happens with the loss, okay? So the city, the way we get money, the way you finance the city, the police department and the fire department is about one half of the money that we bring in, $7.5 million comes in property taxes, okay? The rest of the money we get, which is almost equal to that, we get in things like franchise fees for people that they pay the city, they pay all of us for using the right-of-way on our roads. So you get those two. Those are general fund monies, and general fund pays for things like police department and fire department, okay? That's different than, for example, TVFR, because their primary source is property taxes, and then they get medical fees. But, so the question... No.
Story where the $1.88 isn't given back. So the question is, if we need to make a good decision.
Right.
I think the shiny trucks and people are awesome, but it has to be at the end of this year, is it the one question that we're voting on, or are the two mutual exclusive items, which is the $1.88, which we don't know if that is a factor or not in that decision we're going to make in November, and the fire department selection. So in other words, it has to be one question instead of two separate entities.
Well,
It can change all the time.
okay.
I guess where did
What-
you get the 188 per thousand to do $12 the last 2 years?
That's what we're paying in property tax. So when
You
the
gave that all to them, how do you fund the departments in here?
okay, so for the last year, they are our department. So what used to be the firefighters here that we would pay in a salary, they're not here. They're now at Tualatin Fire. So what we did for this last year is we bought a contract for them. Now, what we did in that contract, so we said we're going to take 2 years to see if this makes sense, is that the contract said if the community and the city council said, no, we don't like the deal, we think it's too expensive, they don't provide good service, then we get the firefighters and the equipment that we've given to TVFR back. That's what the contract is. That's what this whole 2-year period was about. I'm here to say that we can't do it. We can't do it for the amount of money that TVFR is doing, which is why we got here to start with. When the chief came up here before, and what he was describing was, a couple years ago, was we don't have the people, our volunteers couldn't do it, we don't have the equipment. So that's why we went serious. But that's why I know exactly how much money, because we're on a contract.
I think what the people are really asking is, if we vote in to have TVFR be our service,
Yes.
how do we know that in doing so, we will permanently, irrevocably get rid of the $1.88 we pay the city?
Okay. You hire, where you do it is the folks that are sitting right there.
We
And
need to
you,
do it as a function of the vote. If we're voting in this, we need to know that that's gone and can never come back.
well,
Not in that word, not in
Yeah.
that word.
yeah.
It has to come back.
Yeah, well, I think that what you're doing is that, and all those council members sitting here, they're not paid, okay? They're volunteers, just like, they're not. They're just like each person here, and so they're not making money off of this. And so what you do when you hire them for all the decisions, whether it's fire department or police department, is you're saying, I put my trust in those elected officials. And what I would suggest to you is that as long as those folks, we're not talking national, we're not talking about here in our town, as long as those folks that are your elected officials, my elected officials too, and so I live here too, they're my bosses, but as long as they do what they say they're going to do, and, yeah, okay. Right. No, and I'm here with, okay. Okay, let me help, which is why I'm up here, and what it is, it's not, it is,
was just out there saying that the tax is a separate issue for another time. He just said that 10 minutes ago.
okay,
So you then come up and say, this is my recommendation.
yeah, what I'm,
You give a recommendation, there's the person that tells us what it is today. So who do we need to believe?
well, you believe him for what he said, and what I'm telling you is that, first, in law, there's no really thing, such a thing as an advisory vote. It's not in the law. Yeah, but what I'm telling you right here in front of this, and what I said last week with the City Club, is that we're taking the recommendation and the decision for that. It's not my decision. These folks that you're seeing right here, you see their face, you walk up to them, you say, "Is this what you're going to do?" And they'll tell you what they're going to do. But what the recommendation of what they will do is a vote up or down. Not advisory, an up or down vote. Can't say it any more simply than that. So what happens in November if they say no? Then we're on a 2-year contract, we said. We get the stuff back, and then we figure out what are we going to do with reconstituting a department. Okay?
If we say yes, then we have, it's a binding yes at that point.
That's
And
correct.
then how do we know that in binding ourselves to that yes, that we have permanently rescinded the $1.88 that is being sent over there?
Not only that, what happens in 5 years? Do the rates go up again?
Okay, so two questions. The first one, what I would suggest to you is that you go over there and you look at each council and you can ask each one what they're going to do. And what I'm suggesting to you, they're going to say we're not going to charge $1.88. So what the point is that do you forever give back that? There's some people that want to do that. What I would suggest to you, that's why I was trying to say that right now, property tax pays for some stuff. It doesn't pay for everything. So,
$1.88 that pays the fire right now, we're moving that over here, that money should go with it permanently. And the only way to legally do that is take it away over here permanently and put it over there permanently.
no, the way you can do that, the way you can do that legally is right there, of those 6 people. And if they don't do what they say they're going to do, the process is pretty open to kick them out of office. Okay. And I'm sorry, there was, and I'll get to it. There was another question about, I know Chief wants to get up. The other one is what happens to a tax rate? Can they raise it? And the chief will answer that, but no, the fire district can't raise it without a vote. So,
Nobody here, and in my opinion, I'm sure most people here, nobody here needs a sales pitch with Welcome Valley Tech.
right?
What they do is great. They do
Okay.
great service all over.
Absolutely,
That's
yeah,
fantastic. Tonight, we've all gotten the information. It's great. Yes, we bring in another staff, blah, blah, blah. That's great. If they can come and do it. But here's the bottom line at the end of the day. Right now, we pay $1.88 per 1,000. That's what we pay today.
Right.
Is that what we paid for the last 10 years?
No,
But somewhere in that ballpark.
in the ballpark, yes.
Less or more.
It depends on each year, could be, but in that ballpark, yes.
Everybody wants to know, don't keep throwing the 20 cents out there. If TVFR can come in here and do what they're doing
Right.
for $2.08,
Right.
if they can do that, and that's what our property tax and the
Yep.
fire is. I mean, 90% of the people in this room are going to say, you know what, we can all slave $40 a year for better fire service.
Right.
The biggest question that everybody's dancing around is that the rate is going to cost. Not, oh, there's this, that, and the other.
No,
It's not going to be $1.88 plus 208.
no, it is not. I'm here okay, the answer is no, the $1.88 is not being charged. I can't, they'll decide that on Monday, but no, the $1.88 is not proposed. The only part where that $1.88 came up is with those cards. It said, oh, we're going to charge both. City never went down that road. Yes, I am. I'm saying that $1.88 is not going to be charged. That's true. I don't just, they're right here. Monday night. No, we're not charging the tax.
Right, but that's the so that the elections are not charging tax to lose and takes it.
Yes, and I know that's what some say. Yes. Okay. And I'll stop so you can get the questions. I'll just stop. So let me answer two, and then I'll give it to the chief. I'm sorry. So you can get to their card. Yes? No, I'm not recommending that. I'm recommending that $1.88 not be charged in coming up when we go to the change to TVFR if we do it. Right, yeah. Do we... Okay.
Everybody can hear what we're saying about the If they need it, and they're not just coming forward and saying it, I appreciate it if here and say, you know, we got future things coming, the city is growing by leaps and bounds. I don't want to get rid of 12 Valley Fire and Police. They're fabulous. I want them to come.
Good.
It frightens me that we would have a city that only had 2 people on at night. You know, so I want you. And I think the price is great. But if you're going to just say, I'm not charging you $1.88 this year, but you're going to go next year, you have the ability to charge that without a voice of the people. Yes. I say there's something not right about that. That's what exactly. You're my city council and you're representing me, and I live square in downtown historic district.
Right.
I see what's happening here. We're growing by leaps and bounds. I run it in. I see who's coming, the flow of people, the whole thing. If you need the $1.88 from other things, I think everybody here doesn't want to fire animals. Okay? I think everybody probably feels New York sees the town growing astronomically. So, what do you need? And will you please tell us so that we can say, that sounds reasonable. That sounds right for projected growth. What do you need? But all of this kind of just feels so I appreciate it. Everybody is way more forward that if you don't know and you need to know. You know, I know lots of times they put stuff out and nobody shows up at city council meetings.
Right.
Everybody has a system that doesn't go their way. Show up.
Okay, take one more and then give it back to the chief, okay?
I have two
Wow.
quick questions. One of them is, are there really a majority of people in here who believe that, number one, we can get charged $2.07 for the new fire service from TVFR, and that we would also still continue to be charged $1.88 by the city of Newburgh? Okay, so here's my question about that. I get my property tax bill every year, and there's an amount on there that says what I paid for fire and so forth. So the 207 I completely understand. It's going to say TVFR and so forth.
Right.
What would the $1.88 say?
No, there isn't a $1.88 would be on there because it wouldn't be charged.
I believe the newspaper will say last week, new communication system, which they said they would keep some money for and return us the rest. And then yesterday they said, well, they give you everything back only for 1 year. So, I don't know, I'm better on the newspaper than one of this.
I cannot imagine that that would be just double.
So, to get out of that, it was very clear, as the lady said, first, do this deal, and give the 188 back, and then anything you need, come up with it, tell us what you need, and we vote for it.
And that's exactly what we're saying. If there's something in the future, it goes beyond next year. Next year, which is the budget we're talking about, where this would come up, and you won't see $1.88 on your bill just like you don't see it now. You see the TVFR, and what has happened, what the recommendation is, and what you'll hear, what they're voting on, is that if this takes effect, if the voters say yes, July 1 of next year, you will not see $1.88 in your property tax.
But you said that was going to go on to
No, and I didn't hear a lot of it, but if you asked this year, were we paying like the firefighters and TVM? I think if I heard what you were saying, there was a loan for an ambulance, if that's your time, some purchase, that was repaid. And so where that came out of is, we just said that we paid a contract for the services for this year because we don't have the people. The two were wash between the 2 years. So there isn't any. We're not going to collect money. Since it doesn't charge it, we're not going to collect money, which means property tax. No, and you never did. The taxes for cities don't break out like so much for fire, so much for police. It's one rate. So that's what you see on your tax bill. So let me give the chief, I'm going to be around, all your council members will be around for as long as it takes afterwards. So. Well, now, there's nothing for a fire engine there. There is for a police, for community, if that's what you're talking about. On our municipal bill. No, there's a fee for, on what we refer to as our sewer bill, municipal bill, there's a fee for police officers and there's a fee for communication. A year ago, there was a small amount for fire. That went away. The council dropped that fee when we switched over to even this contract. So you're not being charged. You haven't been for about a year. There's a fee for police and, well, there's, no, I'll help, and I'm glad when we get up there. Let me give the chief back and stuff, and no one's leaving, so we'll be around to answer the question. I'm glad to look at your bill. Sorry.
Thanks, Joe. Any questions? No, I'm just kidding. So I will be quick. All right, one comment, and then I have to get through this, or they're going to yell at me.
I am so tired of being taxed. Anytime anybody needs money, we get nailed, and I am so tired of it. My taxes on my property go up every year. It's got to stop.
Yeah.
I have ways.
We're with you. We're with you. And I'll tell you, some of that isn't us. It's not us. There's welcome to Oregon tax laws and 3% a year, no matter what. We didn't do it. We didn't do it. So let me tell you real quick something about me. Mike Dyke. I'm the fire chief for Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. I lived here in 1990. I joined the fire department down here. I know Newburgh, and I know it's a different community than it was in 1990. It's a great community, and I'm honored to be back here as your fire chief, and I'm honored to have your fire chief, Les Holman, on my staff as my right-hand person. So we are honored to be here, and we've I think, done some things that will be good for Newburgh moving forward. We were able to, because of our economy of scale, and working well with the city, to add some staffing right away, because Les was uncomfortable, we were uncomfortable, and we added staff overnight to the numbers that you can see. And June we actually added a little bit more, thanks to some additional funds we have to get us through the rest of this contract. Like we've already talked about, everything that's happening right now is as it was planned in our original contract with the city. The reason we're here tonight was because this was supposed to be the turning point in the contract at 1 year for the citizens to give feedback to the city council and the mayor on what to do next. And so we are right there. The staffing levels you have, those are based on what we know you need when you call 911. You want paramedics on every unit. You want fast responses. So like this afternoon when there was a house fire just up the street, we get there quickly and we put it out when it's small. Or when there's a cardiac arrest or someone's having chest pain, we get there quickly to get you to the hospital or whatever definitive level of care you need as rapidly as possible so your quality of life doesn't change. Or potentially we save your life. I mean, that's what we do, and we're honored to do it. The other things that we added here is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week battalion chief that responds and provides supervision for all the resources in town and moves additional resources when multiple incidents happen. And that happens actually quite a bit here in town. We added water rescue resources because you have a navigable river nearby and a lot of people like to recreate there. And again, it provided some additional resources because those are dangerous events. The fire engines, the ladder truck, The medic units that you see, the ambulances, 3 out of 4 of those we replaced with our units, brought them to town. The ladder truck alone is $1 million. We brought those to town under the contract because the city obviously wasn't in a place to replace theirs. We still have it. We've taken it to our repair shop and done some repairs on it. And depending on which way this contract moves forward, we'll either leave our stuff here or we'll bring the other stuff back and reestablish Newburgh Fire. We spend a lot of energy making sure, and you have some fantastic firefighters that are part of our team now. We train them well. We give them a lot of critical equipment and skills to do a great job for you, because that's what firefighters and paramedics do. We're very sensitive to the fact that you have a very involved community. I will tell you, this is great. The fact that you're turning out with this much passion about what's going on with your local government in your community isn't something that you see everywhere. So, and we recognize that. We know there's a lot of tradition here in Newburgh. I was a part of it, going back into the 90s. I know what it is, and we plan to continue all that moving forward. And I hope you've already seen some of that in the way we've been interacting over the last year. Our service model, I try to not look at Facebook, and I try to not look at some of the social media, but we're a rural fire district. We're not a corporation. We're a rural fire district. We're just a product of small communities coming together over the years that created a slightly larger fire district, and then it happened again and again and again. And over the decades that we've existed, and TVFR started from 3 communities coming together in 1989 that created the original TVFR. And in your case, and the related thing that happened back then is Beaverton joined TVFR. They had a city fire department just like Newburgh, and they joined, and their council and mayor reduced the taxes that the city charged. We started to charge our tax rate, and it happened exactly how the city manager was describing it. And that happened in 1996. And they've been working through the process just as they have back then ever since. They under-levy their tax rate, and that's how it works under the Oregon tax laws. So, but since Beaverton and the other fire districts, West Lynn has joined us, another city fire department. That's just the regional model at TVFR, and it's just that we're able to take the resources and the people from those organizations, and we're able to stretch those tax dollars because we know that's what you expect. You expect us to be extremely efficient with your tax dollars until the moment you call 911, and then you want us to be phenomenal and save your family's life or save your home. That is our model. The other thing I'll just share before I turn it over is, one thing I know that you're concerned about is local control. So if we join TVFR, do we lose our identity? How are we going to provide any feedback? Our board of directors are all at large. We currently have a board member that lives between Sherwood and Newburgh, and any one of you could run for our board of directors. We have a budget committee that's all at large. We have different commissions and civil service commissions that are at large. In fact, we've had Newburgh residents on our civil service commission. So there's opportunities for you to have representation. That said, I feel like I work for 11 mayors and city councils and a board of director. When the mayor calls me and says, I need a ladder truck or I need this or that, we deliver it. So there is a tremendous amount of local control that just exists with our organization because that's a product of who we've always been. We never forget where we came from, and we never want you to regret that you came and became a part of us. And then the last thing I'll just mention, I've heard comments about, well, when you get TVFR, you get Metro, and you get DEQ, and you get TriMet. I will just tell you there is absolutely no correlation with those organizations and us. We're a rural fire district. Metro pays no attention to us. DEQ pays no attention to us, and in my time I've worked for TVFR since 1989. I don't remember the last time those boundary lines moved, and today there's no correlation between our boundary line, even when you don't even consider Newburgh, and those boundary lines. So I want you to rest assured that I don't understand exactly why those comments are being made, but with those regional governments and those agencies, TVFR has absolutely nothing to do with them as far as their ability to move their boundary just because we move ours. We move our boundary because a community wants to join us and have us be a service provider as a rural fire district to that community. So that was the big pieces I wanted to cover with you. I know Chief Alleman's going to break us out, and then there'll be an opportunity for us to come back in front of you and do more Q&A. But I really appreciate the commentary. We're all going to be around, so if you have specific questions of me or the council or any of us here, we are available for you tonight. And after that, by coming down to any of our fire stations, you can always get a hold of us and ask further follow-up questions if those come up later. But I want to really thank you for showing up tonight. We appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Chief Dyke. And just over this past year, in addition to doing the public surveys and the public outreach, we've had over 60 community events. And we love hearing from you. And we thank you again for being here tonight. I'm going to take 15 minutes. I've got, my clock says 8 o'clock. So now to about 8:15, I'm going to read some of the questions you've submitted to us. We will come around and collect them right now. If you've got a card in your hand, hold it up. Real quick, the counselor's asking us about the TVFR tax rate. We have it's $1.52 is our permanent rate, and then we have a bond and a general obligation levy on top of that. So we're right now, last year we were $2.10. Because we're paying those bonds down, it's dropping. Each year it goes down. This year we're at $2.08. I think, Chief, I lost you. Where'd you go? I think we're at $2.08 this year. So that's how that works. $1.52 is the TVFR permanent rate. The money above that is a general obligation bond and a local option levy. And as we pay those down, our rate goes down. If you annex into TVFR and later down the road they decide they want to ask for another general obligation bond or another local levy, you will then vote on that just like everyone else in TVFR votes on that. So does that help, Counselor? Okay, thank you. So real quick, I'm going to go through these, and Mr. Mayor, I'm going to put you on the spot first. If this plan goes to a vote, sorry guys, I'm trying to read it. I think this has already been answered, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. Mayor, it's saying, if this plan goes to a vote and passes, what plan and what cost will it mean to the Newburgh residents? I think we've kind of already answered that. Okay. And do you want to address that, Mr. Mayor, anymore?
Yes, we are aware of that. No, we do not intend, I think I'm speaking increase the levy back up, it would be conditioned, in my mind, on input from you, the citizens, which may necessitate, in our thinking, that we say if we want to increase it by 20 cents per thousand, we would have to come to you to ratify that increase up to the maximum that we can go, which is 438. That's confusing. I hope you stay with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Dyke, someone asked what percentage of your responses are for medical emergencies and what percent of those are truly life and death?
So we're primarily, so we get dispatched to, around 80% of our calls are medical. About 70% turn out to be an actual patient or a medical emergency. The other 10% or a little bit more than that, I thought it was a traffic accident with an injury, but it ended up just being somebody pulled off the side of the road. There wasn't actually a patient that was injured in that process. How many are life-threatening? TVFR responds in total, almost 40,000 incidents a year, and about 4,000 of those, about 10% are cardiac calls. I consider those fairly life-threatening. A lot of breathing problems. It's kind of hard to quantify sometimes how many are life-threatening. There are obviously significant events for everybody who calls 911 or they wouldn't call 911. It's the worst day of their life. They don't know what else to do. And that's why, but most of the work we do and why all of our units are staffed with one paramedic at least, and then the medic units obviously in town to transport, that's why we devote so much time and resource into emergency medical response.
Thank you, Chief. And I'll take this next one. It was, what do the employees of Newburgh Fire want? Do they want to remain with TVFR? If no, what would it cost to staff Newburgh Fire at the same level? If the majority of Newburgh Fire wants to remain with them, my question is answered. So all the employees that were City of Newburgh, TVFR brought us on board with them. I think probably one of the easiest ways for me to answer that is you heard me earlier talking about having just 2 firefighters on an engine overnight. I will tell you, for a city of this size in this day and age, that's scary. Those same firefighters, when they're on duty now, there's 4 firefighters on both of our apparatus. We have a ladder truck in service downtown with 4 firefighters. We have the engine in Springbrook on duty with 4 firefighters. We have 2 firefighter paramedics on both of our medic rigs. We have that battalion chief on duty. We have doubled the staffing in the City of Newburgh. Our firefighters, I used to joke with the city council, they saw the stress on my face. I didn't sleep well. And Commissioner Bacon especially likes to ask me, Les, do you sleep well now? Yes, we've doubled the staffing. We're taking care of our community now. And I was going to pick on, we've got some of our former Newburghs. They're all hiding from me, aren't they? Every single one of them ran. I would ask them, please, if you know a former City of Newburgh firefighter, I encourage you to go talk to them and you ask them what it's like and what this change has meant for them. I go visit with them all the time. And all they do is thank me continuously, and it's not me that gets the credit, it's the city council's decision. It took courage for them to allow TVFR to come in, and I'm just thankful that TVFR was willing. They didn't have to do this, and we're just very thankful for that. So I hope I answered that question, but I encourage anyone in the room, to this day, I'll never forget, Mayor, you and I were facing Chief Dyke. You remember, and this is my famous story, and the mayor said, well, how do we know that your services are good? And Chief Dyke said, Mayor, we're in 10 cities. I encourage you to call every mayor, every city councilor, call every citizen, and tell us, and let them tell you what they think. I say the same thing to you, and also say that about the firefighters. Find a Newburgh firefighter and ask them what they think. Mr. Hannon, I think we keep dancing all around this one. A question for you was, how does the contract reduce the city's tax rate? I think we've beat that one to death for now. Okay. Here's one, I'll go for this one. If the city does not move forward with TVFR, is it possible that homeowners' insurance rates would rise due to limited services? That is a possibility. Your insurance services rates are based on the fire department's ability to respond. TVFR is currently being re-rated. Your ISO directly, that rating directly impacts how much you pay for your homeowner's insurance. The staffing level that Newburgh currently was under, I'm very concerned if we got a re-rate, we possibly it would get worse, just because we can't keep up with the call volume. And I love this graphic up here. I mean, again, we doubled our staffing. There's actually a very good possibility, we can't promise, but TVFR under our re-rating, it may go down. So if TVFR does become your service provider, there's a good chance that your insurance rates will go down. Mayor, this is another one on the tax rate. I think we've gotten that one pretty good. Someone asked a question, Mayor, and this is going to be a tough one. I'll try to help you with this. They said, what would it cost to maintain our fire department as a functional unit? Why is consolidating with TVFR better? In 25 years, I've not heard conversations about problems. I can't read some, but I think I can get into the gist of it. Basically, they've lived here 25 years. They never knew there was a problem, and they're wanting to know, why can't we maintain it? You want to help me with that, Mayor? I think I kind of know the answer, but I'd rather you.
Yes, thank you. You heard part of the answer. And we are asking, basically, we're asking the same question. What is it going to cost us to reconstitute the department? Were we to go to an election? The election was not, did not confirm the annexation. What is it going to cost us to reconstitute it? And do we have the financial resources to reconstitute the existing department that we have? And if we were to reconstitute our fire department and provide the services that you are enjoying today with TVFR, what other services do we have to abandon in the city? Because we are limited. We are limited in what we can assess in the way of taxes. And our public safety, whether it's police or it's fire, our public safety comes from the general fund. And we are limited on what we can use with the general fund. So we have been asking that same question, what is it going to cost? And we will have that answer for you, but we do not have the exact figures tonight. Thank you.
Yes, and just I'll follow up with that. You've heard us use the word economy of scale, and what TVFR can deliver for $2.08 would be very different than what the city could deliver for $2.08. So just keep that in mind. They're asking when you're going to have those numbers, Mayor, and I think the goal is to have them Monday night, isn't it? Yes, yes. The plan is the city. Yes, yes. That's one of the things the city council wants to have in front of them Monday night. Chief Dyke, you just want to read these?
So what will keep the costs under control in the years to come? What will keep the costs under control in the years to come? You know, what helps us manage that is the growth that occurs across our entire fire district. So depending on where you drive, you're seeing a lot of construction, and all that adds revenue to the budget to allow us to keep up with increasing in costs. The same cost you experience without increasing the tax rate. So the same costs that go up for you, your health care costs, the fuel you put in your car, the electricity bill, and that it cost more last year to heat your home or to turn on your lights than it did. We pay the same bills you do. And what helps us manage that, without changing the tax rate is by, a good, strong economy. And we're leveraging an economy of not just the city of Newburgh, but the entire fire district. When you're watching Nike have explosive growth or everything that's going on throughout the region, those revenues cause our available funds to increase and us to manage to keep your tax rate extremely low. We didn't change our tax rate until just 2015 from 2000. So we went 15 years without changing the rate, and we changed it because our board of directors wanted to increase some staffing levels due to call volume going, the same call volumes that Chief Hallman in Newburgh was experiencing. They wanted us to increase them, but that was the first time we've done it in a long time. What will happen to FireMed? We plan to continue it. So that's that subscription service. that you can buy into that reduces the cost should you need to get transported in Newburgh. We're going to continue that program. What is TVFR, i.e. corporation, public owned? I don't know. I think when you look at us in the Oregon statute, we're a rural fire district. We're a municipal corporation, but that's just in the tax laws. The city's a municipal corporation. We're a municipal corporation. We're municipal. We're a local government. Yeah, so it's just, we're a rural fire district in Oregon statutes. We're the same as Newburgh Rural Fire District. We follow the same statutes they do as far as an organization. They have a 5-member board, we have a 5-member board. We follow the same laws. Will our firefighters keep their jobs, be hired from Newburgh? We're keeping all of them. We're keeping the fire stations, we're keeping all the personnel. No one is leaving. In fact, your firefighters from Newburgh are taking our promotional exams, and if they choose to move up in the organization, if they choose down the road to want to work at other fire stations or get extra training, those opportunities will come to them. We had firefighters that worked for TVFR that lived in Newburgh, that live in Newburgh today, that want to work in the town that they live in, so they're wanting to transfer to these stations. So we allow people to move around so long as it doesn't affect the operation, and we have the right staffing levels and paramedics and everything it takes. Okay. Well, let me throw one more thing in while I have the mic. I mean, you're hearing us talk about what we brought to the city. I want to acknowledge what was already here. I mean, I was thoroughly impressed in what Chief Hallman had been able to do with limited funds, limited resources, and a group of volunteers that was pouring their heart out to this community. Roger Gano, I see Neil Klein, I see a lot of folks that have their fingers on the history of this organization that volunteered their time, weren't paid, spent nights here, responded around the clock, and really we were at a point, Chief Hallman was at a point where if they left, we have nothing. And that was the concern. And we want to be that same combination volunteer and paid fire department. We are a combination volunteer and career fire department. And so please don't think that we won't still be trying to attract volunteers. We have rigs that we are going to roll out of these fire stations that are going to be staffed by volunteers, and that we lose sight of where Newburgh is today is a product of the heart and soul of the community and the people that are volunteers in this community and have been volunteers in this community and given so much to you. So I just want to say thank you before we lose sight of that. Are we dispatched? Sorry. No, okay, so our dispatch is at a Washington County Consolidated Communications that is paid for by the user fees that we contribute from the fire district to pay for them. The only other fee the revenue that they get is from 911 tax. Your 911 tax stays with your dispatch center here today. Yeah, it's not contract. It's another organization, it's another local government, if you will. That it's Washington County Consolidated Communications. There's 19 agencies that are all dispatched by that dispatch center, and we are a part of that. Your dispatch center works extremely closely with them and has electronic interfaces and the ability to transfer calls and communicates. On my way here, Newburgh Police was running a call with Sherwood Police and Washington County Sheriff's Office. All that's coordinated between the dispatch centers for law enforcement, and all that's coordinated with the fire dispatch. Dundee Fire and TVFR are all dispatched by that resource also. Is it crystal clear for you now? No. What you need? have to look into your incident, that does not happen very often. We'll talk after this.
So Councilor McKinney did want me to remind everyone, your police department is still dispatched by Newburgh Dispatch, so that's different. So when a fire and EMS call comes in, Newburgh Dispatch simply sends that call to WACA. It's what we call a transfer. It happens every day all over the Portland, this whole area. Someone calls a cell phone, you never know where your cell phone's going to actually get answered. If it's not the right agency, they simply transfer the call. We're a little over. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we'll go into our breakouts. Mayor, I'm calling on you again. Did the city of Newburgh receive any stimulus funds to help alleviate some of the city's funding issues?
I certainly haven't been stimulated recently.
I think what they're asking is, that it said, has the city received any stimulus funds to help alleviate some of the city's funding issues? I guess they're asking, have we gotten any federal funds to help relieve our issues?
Billion-dollar, trillion-dollar funding every year that was coming from stimulus money, just never allegedly turned out.
So I can partly answer that, if you don't mind, Mayor, real quick, just so you'll know, we were fortunate, if it's the original stimulus package I think you're talking about, we did get about $800,000 to redo this fire station. So there was some grant funds available from the stimulus package, and we took advantage of that and did a very nice remodel, the best we could with $800,000 in this building. So that's one that we got. Yes, yes. Yes.
So we have had a small piece, and then we benefited out of those dollars years back.
And the problem with federal funding, typically it's one time. It's a capital item, just a one-time deal. It doesn't help with your day-to-day personnel and operational costs. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. Those of you, if I didn't get to your question, please come up to us. We'll answer your questions. If you've got your name and number on there, we will call you. At this time, we're going to go to what we call a breakout session. If you go over to these boards, there'll be some people over here to talk to you about these different boards, what they mean, and how you can provide your input there. And again, you're going to see people all around the room. The city councilors are here. Anyone in uniform is a target. So please feel free to come up and ask us any questions. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your input. Have a good evening.
If it's considered a life-threatening call that could require advanced life support, you want to send a medic unit with two, and then the closest fire apparatus with 4. So think about it. Let's say a person's having a chest pain, but they're on the second floor of the house. You don't want you guys to only a certain So if you look at our website, what we're actually doing throughout the rest of the district, we're running F-Jobs, a single-person F-Job. So if you go to annex in, we will put a car absolutely, yes. We've been very successful. Under the contract, we took it forward to be here, but if we get annexed to them, we end up getting yeah. There are other departments around the country that are actually looking at our so our saying is right resources to the right cause. We're trying not to, but right now, we want to listen to we don't want the MJs to start taking away from the heavy assets. In other words, the dispatchers have very clear criteria what a person needs to do. If we see that may be gray, we will roll that heavy asset just to be able to most cost-effective ways of seniors to do this. They're working we're sending them to fire lines, we're sending them to car accidents, they're talking from injuries, they're working beautifully. It's been very successful. A lot of Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Question. Yes. Exactly. I would call 911 dispatch and say, I see you guys have analyzed the delay by the fact that it's going to get transferred.
Right. It's about 60 seconds. And you got to understand, when we have to call them and say, this is 911, this is your medical police force, you send them, they immediately, they stay on the line and they connect to the whack. It's bad. There's always going to be some delay. It's 60 seconds. Typically it's a 60-second to transfer the car. It is, but so that transfer happens. You have to go sit and watch. The minute it pops up on the screen, at the same time a person's asking questions, another person's hitting the button of this dispatch. So that's the advantage of Whacker. Beaver's got one person sitting there who's got to do it all himself. Whacker's got multiple people.
60-second delay.
But you realize that people on 911 as you count, make them go to answer. And they got to transfer. It happens. That's just a part of that's the 911. Is it ideal? I wouldn't argue it's not ideal. But what's our choice?
That's a good question. I just want to say, if you look at the numbers, and I'm just saying stuff around 50 seconds.
I'm just saying, for 60 seconds, that's probably about an hour. 60 seconds. Does that help you? Does that help you?
Yes, I'm very much so.
Nice talking to you. Where did you guys go when I was looking for the Newburgh guys?
Right at me.
Was I really?
I thought sure you were going to call
I guess I was just stressed out. I'm going, where'd that go? Those bastards are hiding from me.
you were going to grab one.
I was. I wanted to hear from you guys.
You got to see people.
Good, good. Thank you.
Yeah, we're like, oh, this is good for everybody.
Awesome. Good. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming.
You want to do this now, or should I call you the morning?
Are you sure? Okay. What time you get in the office? Let me look at my phone. So I've got meet the boss. I think that's at 2 time. You want to do it like right before, like after lunch? I'm clear after my meeting with